I welcome you all in our today's session, that is imperfect real-time decisions. In our earlier videos, we have seen the minimax algorithm as well as the alpha-beta cloning algorithm. The minimax algorithm generates the entire game search space, whereas the alpha-beta algorithm allows us to clone large part of it. However, alpha-beta still has to search all the way to terminal states for at least a portion of the search space. This step is usually not practical because moves must be made in a reasonable amount of time, typically a few minutes at most. Claude Shannon's paper, Programming a Computer for Playing Chess, proposed instead that programs should cut off the search earlier and apply a heuristic evaluation function to states in the search, effectively turning non-terminal nodes into terminal leads. In other words, the suggestion is to alter minimax or alpha-beta in two ways. Replace the utility function by a heuristic evaluation function, that is eval, which estimates the position's utility, and replace the terminal test by a cutoff test, which decides when to apply eval. That gives us the following for heuristic minimax for state S and maximum depth D. The H minimax S, D is equal to eval S if cutoff test S, D. It is equal to max A belongs to actions S, H minimax result S, A, D plus 1 if player S is equal to max, and it is equal to min A belongs to actions S, H minimax result S, A, D plus 1 if player S is equal to min. An evaluation function returns an estimate of the expected utility of the game from a given position. Just as the heuristic functions, it returns an estimate of the distance to the goal. The idea of an estimator was not new when Shannon proposed it. For centuries, chess players and aficionados of other games have developed ways of judging the value of a position because humans are even more limited in the amount of search they can do than are computer programs. It should be clear that the performance of a game-playing program depends strongly on the quality of its evaluation function. An accurate evaluation function will guide an agent toward positions that turn out to be lost. How exactly do we design good evaluation functions then? First, the evaluation function should order the terminal states in the same way as the true utility function. States that are beings must evaluate better than draws, which in turn must be better than losses. Otherwise, an agent using the evaluation function might even if it can see ahead all the way to the end of the game. Second, the computation must not take too long. The whole point here is to search faster. And the third one is for non-terminal states, the evaluation function should be strongly correlated with the actual chances of winning. One might well wonder about the phrase chances of winning. After all, chess is not a game of chance. we know the current state with certainty and no dice are involved. But if the search must be cut off at non-terminal states, then the algorithm will necessarily be uncertain about the final outcomes of these states. This type of uncertainty is induced by computational rather than informational limitations. Given the limited amount of computation that the evaluation function is allowed to do for a given state, the best it can do is make a guess about the final outcome. Let us make this idea more concrete. Most evaluation functions work by calculating various features of the state. For example, in chess, we would have features for the number of white pawns, black pawns, white queens, black queens, and so on. The features taken together define various categories or equivalence classes of states. The state in each category have the same values for all the features. For example, one category contains all 2 pawns versus 1 pawn endgames. Any given category, generally speaking, will contain some states that lead to wins, some that lead to draws, and some that lead to losses. The evaluation function cannot know which states are which, but it can return a single value that reflects the proportion of states with each outcome. For example, suppose our experience suggests that 72% of the states encountered in the 2 pawns versus 1 pawn category lead to a win, utility +1, 20% to a loss, that is 0, and 8% to draw where the utility is 1/2. Then a reasonable evaluation for states in the category is the expected value, which is given by 0.72 multiplied by +1 plus 0.20 into 0 plus 0.08 into 1/2, which is equivalent to 0.76. In principle, the evaluated value can be determined for each category, resulting in an evaluation function that works for any state. As with terminal states, the evaluation function need not return actual expected values as long as the ordering of the states is the same. In practice, this kind of analysis requires too many categories and hence too much experience to estimate all the probabilities of winning. Instead, most evaluation functions compute separate numerical contributions from each feature and then combine them to find the total value. For example, introductory chess books give an approximate material value for each piece. Each pawn is worth 1, a knight or bishop is worth 3, a rook is worth 5 and the queen is worth 9. Other features such as good pawn structure and king safety might be worth half a pawn say. These feature values are then simply added up to obtain the evaluation of the position. A secure advantage equivalent to a pawn gives a substantial likelihood of winning, and a secure advantage equivalent to 3 pawns should give almost certain victory, as illustrated in figure 1a. which is shown in our next line. Mathematically, this kind of evaluation function is called a weighted linear function because it can be expressed as eval s is equal to W1 F1s plus W2 F2s plus up to Wn Fns, which is nothing but summation from I is equal to 1 to n Wi Fis, where each Wi is the weight and each Fi is the feature of the position. For chess, the Fi could be the numbers of each kind of piece on the board and the Wi would be the values of the pieces, 1 for pawn, 3 for bishop, etc. So figure 1 here shows two chess positions that differ only in the position of the rook at lower right. In figure A, black has an advantage of the knight and 2 pawns, which should be enough to win the game. In figure B, white will capture the queen, gives it the advantage that should be strong enough to win. Adding up the values of the features seems like a reasonable thing to do, but in fact it involves a strong assumption that the contribution of each feature is independent of the values of the other features. For example, assigning the value 3 to a bishop ignores the fact that bishops are more powerful in the endgame when they have a lot of space to maneuver. For this reason, current programs for chess and other games also use non-linear combinations of features. For example, a pair of bishops might be worth slightly more than twice the value of a single bishop, and a bishop is worth more in the endgame, that is, when the move number feature is high or the number of remaining pieces feature is low. We can note here that the features and weights are not part of the rule of the chess. They come from centuries of human chess playing experience. In games where this kind of experience is not available, the weights of the evaluation function can be estimated by the machine learning techniques. Cutting off search. The next step is to modify alpha beta search so that it will call heuristic eval function when it is appropriate to cut off the search. If cutoff test state comma def, then return eval state. We also must arrange for some bookkeeping so that the current depth is incremented on each recursive call. The most straightforward approach to controlling the amount of search is to set a fixed depth limit so that cutoff test state comma depth returns true for all depth greater than some fixed depth d. It must also return the true for all terminal states, just as terminal test did. The depth d is chosen so that a move is selected within the allocated time. A more robust approach is to apply iterative deepening. When time runs out, the program returns the move selected by the deepest completed search. As a bonus, iterative deepening also helps with move ordering. These simple approaches can lead to errors due to the approximate nature of the evaluation function. Now consider again the simple evaluation function for chess based on material advantage. Suppose the program searches in the depth limit, searching the position in figure 1b, where the black is ahead by a knight and 2 pawns. It would report this as the heuristic value of the state, thereby declaring that the state is a probable win by black. But white's next move captures black's queen with no compensation. Hence, the position is really won for white. But this can be seen only by looking ahead one more ply. Obviously, a more sophisticated cutoff test is needed. The evaluation function should be applied only to positions that are consequent, that is, unlikely to exhibit wide swings in value in the near future. In chess, for example, positions in which favorable captures can be made are not consequent for an evaluation function that just counts materially. Non-quotient positions can be expanded further until quotient positions are reached. This extra search is called a quotient search. Sometimes it is restricted to consider only certain types of moves, such as capture moves, that will quickly resolve the uncertainties in the position. The horizon effect is more difficult to eliminate. It arises when the program is facing an opponent's move that causes serious damage and is ultimately unavoidable, but can be temporarily avoided by delaying tactics. This is the figure 2, which shows the horizon effect. With black to move, the black bishop is surely doomed, but black can forestall that event by checking the white king with its pawns, forcing the king to capture the pawns. This pushes the inevitable loss of the bishop over the horizon, and thus the pawns sacrifices are seen by the search algorithm as good moves rather than bad ones. Consider the chess game in figure 2 here. It is clear that there is no way for the black bishop to escape. For example, the white rook can capture it by moving to h1, and then a1 and then a2, a capture at depth 6 plan. But black does have a sequence of moves that pushes the capture of the bishop over the horizon. Suppose black approaches to depth 8 ply. Most moves by black will lead to the eventual capture of the bishop and thus will be marked as bad moves. But black will consider checking the white king with pawns at e4. This will lead to the king capturing the pawns. Now, black will consider checking again with the pawn at f5, leading to another pawn capture. That takes up 4 ply, and from there the remaining 4 ply is not enough to capture the bishop. Black thinks that the line of play has saved the bishop at the price of 2 pawns, when actually all it has done is push the inevitable capture of the bishop beyond the horizon that black can see. One strategy to mitigate the horizon effect is the singular extension, a move that is clearly better than all other moves in the given position. Once discovered anywhere in the tree in the course of a search, this singular move is recommended. When the search reaches a normal depth limit, the algorithm checks to see if the singular extension is a legal move. If it is, the algorithm allows the move to be considered. This makes the tree deeper, but because there will be few singular extensions, it does not add many total nodes to the tree. So, this is our session today. I hope this session will be helpful for your further studies. Thank you.